Welcome to Falcon 9 launch of CRS22 mission to International Space Station. We are nearly some 19 minutes away from countdown and we are seeing some promotional videos from SpaceX before the launch. So what you are seeing now is the amount of the research that is being sent to ISS via Crew Dragon Commercial Services Supply Mission, that is CRSS. This CRS will launch today from Cape Canaveral Launch Complex 39E and will be docked to International Space Station on June 5th.
One
Wow.
t-shirt. And it also uses a lot of inputs like nutrients that the farms have to add, pesticides.
So right now we
and
are
a lot
seeing
of those
scientists
pieces
from
of
NASA
cotton,
explaining about
they
what
are
they are
root
sending to
trees. So they're
ISS,
things that
and you will
root
be
picks up
learning
in
more
water,
about
root
what they
picks
are
up in
sending. They are
food.
sending a lot of
And so what we're
supplies to
hoping to do on
International
Space
Space
Station
Station
is
so
learn a
that
little bit more about
research
how
could
that
be
root
carried
system
out.
develops, with the idea that if we can, very specifically for us, understand how gravity directs that root system to grow and spread throughout the soil, we might be able to target features there that then we can give that information. Fantastic tool to ask how different is it from the plants and how similar. What do all plants do when they're very specifically particular to each kind of plant?
Doctor, I'm so excited to see what you find out. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And one more notable payload I wanted to tell you about is the first satellite developed by the island nation of Mauritius. That's east of Madagascar, if you didn't know that. It's CubeSat, which is a small satellite about this big, will photograph the region and conduct experimental communication with other islands. So really cool there. Again, you know, just really fascinating payloads on today's mission. Now let's head back to Shiva for an update.
Thanks, Megan. We're just under T-minus 15 minutes and counting to the liftoff of a Falcon 9 carrying Cargo Dragon on the next commercial resupply mission to the International Space Station. Now, as we talked about earlier, Dragon was designed with reusability in mind. To date, 9 of our cargo resupply missions have launched on. We have a history of reflying cargo vehicles and now crew vehicles with the successful launch of Crew 2. As of today, we will also reuse Dragon's heat shield structure for the first time. The heat shield flying today safely returned astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley to Earth on the Demo 2 mission last year. Reusability allows SpaceX to refly the most expensive parts of the spacecraft, and that in turn drives down the cost of space access. So while Dragon today is a new vehicle, there are a handful of components flying that have seen some space before, the heat shield structure just being one example. Now, speaking of new technologies, the astronauts on board the International Space Station are eagerly awaiting this next delivery of science to keep them busy on the world's only orbiting laboratory. We had a chance to catch up with a couple of them to hear about the work they've been doing since they arrived safely on the Crew 2 mission back in April.
Hi everyone, welcome to the International Space Station. I'm Aki Hoshide, and we're here doing
So right now we see scientists from International Space Station saying about this cargo commercial resupply services mission. The first supply mission was launched in 2012, and it has been nearly 22 missions that has been launched by SpaceX to International Space Station till now.
Cargo Dragon will be actually a little bit different. So what's different about this one?
This time it's just going to dock. So without the help of the robotic arm, it's going to automatically dock to the International Space Station.
And of course, it will be similar to our crewed vehicle that we came up in. So everything should look pretty much the same. Just there won't be people. There'll be cargo and a lot of science experiments. Some of the science samples will arrive in powered payload lockers, so they can be frozen temperatures. But some of the samples will arrive in this cooler type of bag, which is called a double cold bag. It's a super insulated bag, and we put ice bricks in there along with the samples to keep them at the right temperature. So I'll show you what that looks like. Oh, looks like we have a stowaway. These are the ice bricks, and they can maintain a temperature between -32 and +37 Celsius. They're just room temperature right now, or I wouldn't be holding them with bare hands. But you can see we would fill that up with the ice bricks as well as the samples. We also send samples home this way, and they have a certain amount of time that they will stay at temperature before they're recovered by the team on the ground. You know I'm excited about the tardigrades. I told you about the water bears, super excited about that. They're little microscopic creatures that can survive in extreme environments. And the cell science 4 experiment is looking at what can we see by looking at their genes, how do they survive and adapt to extreme environments? And then the hope is that that information can be used to look at stress factors in humans when we're living in space. Another one I think is really exciting that has benefits both for us in space but also on Earth is a new ultrasound experiment, the butterfly ultrasound, and it's looking at portable ultrasound technology with mobile tech. Some really exciting stuff that kind of covers a big spectrum.
Yeah.
And that was NASA astronaut Megan McArthur and JAXA astronaut Aki Hoshide aboard the International Space Station. And welcome into the International Space Station Flight Control Room at the Johnson Space Center here in Houston, Texas. The team of flight controllers in Mission Control Houston today is being led by Flight Director Rebecca Wingfield. The teams here in Mission Control will really jump into action tomorrow night into Saturday morning as Cargo Dragon approaches the International Space Station and enters the approach ellipsoid, which we like to think of as an imaginary sphere around the space station that helps us monitor the approach and departure of visiting vehicles. There are currently 7 crew members living and working aboard the International Space Station. Expedition 65 consists of NASA astronauts Shane Kimbrough, Megan McArthur, and Mark Vandehei, Roscosmos cosmonauts Pyotr Dubrov and Oleg Novitsky, Aki Hoshide of JAXA, and Thomas Pesquet of the European Space Agency. One major component flying in Dragon's trunk today is the first pair of Boeing-made IROSA solar arrays, which will be installed to the 2B and 4B channels of the P6 truss by Thomas Pesquet and Shane Kimbrough over 2 spacewalks planned for June 16th and June 20th. This will be the first of 3 deliveries of these IROSA solar arrays. There will be 6 in all to upgrade and augment the power for the 6 of 8 power channels on the station. As Crew Dragon approaches the International Space Station in the morning hours on June 5th, NASA astronauts Shane Kimbrough and Megan MacArthur will be monitoring the arrival from the station's cupola. And once Dragon arrives to the station, it will dock to the Zenith port on the space-facing side of the station's Harmony module and will join 4 other spacecrafts: Crew Dragon, Cygnus 15, the Soyuz MS-18, and Progress 77. Cargo Dragon will remain attached to the International Space Station for about 1 month before being packed up with critical science and supplies and will splash down in the Atlantic Ocean for that science to be analyzed back here on Earth. Again, everything is still a go from here in Mission Control Houston, and we're looking forward to welcoming another vehicle to the International Space Station. So for now, we'll head back out to Kennedy. Megan.
It is now T-minus 8 minutes and counting until liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket and Cargo Dragon on the next resupply mission to the International Space Station. Now, you heard Courtney just mention the new
So we are now about 8 minutes 20 seconds from liftoff, and this is one of the resupply missions where it will where NASA will be sending some science payloads to International Space Station. So right now, what you're seeing is how the Dragon is packed with this science experiments on this resupply mission.
been in use for more than 20 years. The 2 new solar arrays, plus 4 more to be delivered later, will produce a total of more than 120 kilowatts of electricity. That is enough to power more than 40 U.S. homes. Once combined with the 8 original arrays, the new ones will boost power to the station up to 30%, maximizing use for the orbiting lab for many years to come. And these 2 new solar arrays, like Courtney said, are going to be installed this summer. Now let's head back over to Shiva for an update. Shiva?
Thanks, Megan. We're just over T-minus 7 minutes to go.
So right now, if you see, it's T-minus 7 minutes. So both liquid oxygen in stage 1 and stage 2 has been filled, and engine seal is also done. In about 4 minutes, a strong battery tech will be done.
Liquid oxygen and RP1 by the Merlin engines during ascent. A helium loading began before the webcast went live, and we'll continue to top it off until about 1.5 minutes before launch. Now, to make sure that the engine startup goes well, we also perform what's called engine chill. It started at about T-minus 7 minutes. We flow a small amount of that super chilled liquid oxygen into the Merlin engine turbo pumps, and we do that to avoid thermal shock to the mechanical components once we get that full flow of super chilled liquid oxygen on engine start. Dragon also began its startup sequence at T-minus 35 minutes when it coordinated timing with the Falcon 9. It's currently undergoing a set of vehicle health checks, with its next major milestone happening just before liftoff, when it'll transition to internal battery power. Now, the range is standing by, ready to support today's mission. Launch weather is continuing to trend favorably. We had a 60% chance of go, and we're still continuing to monitor some of those clouds and precipitation in the area. So with that, the launch team, Falcon 9, Dragon, the range, all looking good. Weather also trending good. And at about T-minus 5 minutes to go, I'm now joined by Marie to help me walk through these final moments of the terminal count. Marie?
Yeah, Shiva, as you said, weather trending in the better direction. It was a little bit hairy for a couple minutes there. Within the last, I want to say maybe 13 minutes or so, it was right around T-minus 19 or 18 minutes. We heard about some lightning strikes in the area, not coming within that 10-mile radius of the pad, but that was a watch item.
So we are now 5 minutes away from the launch. It seems there are some lightning streaks in and around the area, but not at the launch pad. And there is 60% chance of favorable weather to be for the launch. If the weather is not a go for launch, then the launch would be scrapped. So right now they are still going away. We are going ahead with the countdown to see whether it's still go for a launch.
Flow during flight. We can hear the hissing from some of that liquid oxygen venting off the side of the rocket as it meets that
Strong on back retract in progress.
We just heard the call out there as well for strong back retract. The strong back is the truss structure.
So you can now see strong back being retracted. That's happening right now. And there is a lot of liquid oxygen being vent out. So what they generally do is they top up the liquid oxygen in stage 1 and stage 2 till the end, so that there is enough fuel for the rocket to go to the space station.
And there you can see the strong back starting its retraction away from the vertical position.
So now you can see the strong back being retracted. It is getting retracted very slowly.
Moves the thrust
Stage 1
nozzles.
looks so complete.
And we just heard the call for
Yeah, and we just heard that call out for first stage LOX load complete. Next major activity here will be second stage LOX load complete. Usually happens around the T-2 minute mark, and that wraps up propellant loading for Falcon 9 until liftoff.
So right now, if you see, they're still topping off the liquid oxygen in stage 1 and stage 2. It seems there is some water venting happening from one of the tanks over there. So now we are just 1 minute 30 seconds away from the launch. Falcon 9 computers have taken control of the Now we are just 35 seconds away from the launch. So now we are just under 20 seconds away from Falcon 9 launch. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have engine startup and lift off. Liftoff of Falcon 9 launch CRS22 supply mission to International Space Station. Falcon 9 has cleared the pad now. You can see the maximum Q, that is at 1 minute 12 seconds. So that's where the spacecraft is subjected to maximum dynamic pressure. It's going to the clouds now. So this is the rocket cam view of the SpaceX Falcon 9. You can see the launch pad below as well as the contrail from the spacecraft. So Falcon 9 is at now speed of 880 and it's at altitude of 6.2 kilometer. So now it's moving at a speed of around 1200 kilometers per hour and at altitude of 10 kilometer. Now you can see the beautiful view of the Earth from Falcon 9 rocket cam. So this Falcon 9 has already passed maximum Q. Now you will see the next one is the main stage cutoff, which you will be seeing in about some 1 minute from now. So on your right side, what you're seeing is the Florida's east coast, whereas on the left is the land. So right now Falcon 9 is at a speed of 3,200 kilometers per hour and at an altitude of 30 kilometers. So right now Falcon 9 is an altitude of 46 kilometers and at the speed of, and it's going at a speed of 5,700 kilometers. So right now main engine is cut off, so the first stage engine has been switched off. And it has got separated from the Falcon 9. Now you can see the second stage engine starting off. And you can see the Falcon 9's first stage booster falling off. So the Falcon 9's first stage booster will be reignited once it enters the atmosphere, and the first stage will try to land on a ground ship that is owned by SpaceX. The ground ship is currently over in the Atlantic Ocean. So right now Falcon 9 is at altitude of 100 kilometers and it's going at a speed of 3,300 kilometers per hour to be precise. So this is the view you are getting from second stage of Falcon 9. On the left side, what you are seeing is the first stage booster burns. So there will be an entry burn happening, that's in about some 2.5 minutes from now. So right now it's doing some course correction adjustments.
At liftoff, gravity is pulling straight down on the rocket, but as we ascend, we tilt the engines, that's called gimbaling, and that begins to turn the rocket horizontally. We're still going up, but we're also heading horizontally away from the launch pad. That maneuver is called a gravity turn. The rocket typically needs to go about 7.5 kilometers per second, or about 17,500 miles an hour, to avoid being pulled back down to Earth and to get into orbit. So that's what the second stage is doing right now. Now, the first stage, in order to make its way back to our drone ship, named, of course, I Still Love You, it has 2 more burns to do. First is an entry burn. It'll ignite 3 of its Merlin 1 engines. That'll help to slow it down as it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere. And then the next activity will happen much closer to the drone ship. That is the landing burn. Will ignite just the single center Merlin engine to bring the vehicle's speed rapidly down to 0. You can see the grid fins that are extended on the left-hand side of your screen. We use those for atmospheric control. They help steer the Falcon 9 to make sure we make our way back to that drone ship as we get into the thicker parts of the Earth's atmosphere. And you'll occasionally see periodic bursts of a white gas like that. That's our attitude control system, giving us little corrections to our attitude. The next major event coming up here for the first stage is entry burn. 3 of the Merlin 1D engines will ignite. Second stage burn continuing to look nominal. Second stage has a little ways to go. It won't be done with this burn until about the T+8 minute mark.
Stage 1 FTS is saved. Trajectory nominal. Stage 1 entry burn startup.
So with that, 3 Merlin 1D engines on the first stage igniting to reduce the vehicle's velocity. You can see that on the bottom left corner of your screen. This burn expected to last about 20 seconds. So from here, the grid fins will continue to take the first stage towards our drone ship stationed out in the Atlantic Ocean. At this point, T+6.5 minutes into flight, second stage is making its way to the initial orbit to drop off the Cargo Dragon spacecraft. And if you're just joining us, welcome. On your screen is a live view of Falcon 9's first stage on the left, the second stage on the right. We had an on-time liftoff at 1:29 p.m. Eastern Time. Nominal ascent so far. I'm talking a little bit more about
Stage 1 transonic.
Talking a little bit more about the first stage. So the next major event coming up is that landing burn. Landing burn is what will bring the vehicle speed rapidly down to 0. Amazing shots of the first stage during re-entry. Once we get closer to the drone ship, we will deploy our 4 symmetric landing legs around the base of the first stage for hopefully a nice soft touchdown on that drone ship. You can see a shot of that on the right-hand side of your screen.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Picture perfect landing of that first stage. 86 successful recovery overall for SpaceX. Fantastic. Now coming up shortly, second stage is not done. It will be coming up on second engine cutoff.
Terminal guidance.
About 30, excuse
Nominal orbit insertion.
unpressurized section from the second stage that is in orbit around our planet. Our next major activity coming up shortly, that is Dragon separation from Falcon 9's second stage. After that, by the nose cone
Expected loss of signal.
opening. And that's going to complete my coverage here.
So that's going to be the end of Falcon 9's launch to International Space Station. So after 2 days,